Yes, shalom everyone, and good evening from Connect here in Lower Galilee in the Jezreel Valley. I'm Amir Tsarfati, and as always with me, Pastor Barry Stagner from Southern California. Shalom, Barry.
Shalom, Amir. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Both of us had a wonderful ministry tour in Europe. We visited Germany and the Netherlands and Belgium. And with the blessing comes also the payment, and that's sleeplessness. I
Yeah, it
guess you
was.
share that with me.
Oh, yeah, I'm calling it the Second Corinthians 6 tour. When Paul was talking about many of the things he went through on his ministry journeys, one of them he mentioned was sleeplessness. And Amir, it was kind of funny because we took turns. If you didn't get any sleep, I did, and if I didn't get any sleep, you did. So one of us was always ready, and but God strengthened both of us. I thought it was just amazing to see in the midst of all the weariness and travel that His hand was upon us, and we had the strength to do what He had called us to do. And it was a great conference in every city that we visited, and just a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank the Lord for His faithful
Yes,
promises.
yes, exactly. And it was wonderful. And although the sleeplessness is not only the thing of the past for me, unfortunately, I'm known to it too often. So, Pastor Barry, what do we have today?
Well, Amir, as always, I think we need to pay attention to what is happening in Gaza. A lot of events that are happening there as Israel continues Operation Gideon's Chariot, and seeing the advances there, I think that are important, and recognizing what Israel has been up to and how Hamas is being not just disabled but disarmed as well, and all of its elements of seeking to bring about the demise of the Israeli people are really, it seems like they're coming to an end.
Yes, you're right. And I was about just to share with you that after Mohammed Sinwar and Mohammed Shabana, the last main remaining commanders of Hamas, the only one that is still a senior commander that is left in Gaza of Hamas is Adin al-Haddad, who is the brigade commander of Gaza. And I was about to tell you who this guy is, and that he replaced Mohammed Sinwar, and that this guy is, of course, been the Northern Gaza brigade commander since 2023. He joined Hamas in 1987, became the Gaza City commander in 2021, had a key role in the October 7th attack, and also included the Nahal Oz assault. He oversaw 2 regional commands. All of that is great until a couple hours ago, when a belt of fire style attack in Khan Yunis of dozens of bunker busting bombs basically destroyed a super important underground compound. And Pastor Barry, we don't have confirmation, but the rumor is that scumbag might be gone, and Hamas might be left without a single senior commander on the ground, which means, Pastor Barry, that it's no longer a military force; it's a guerrilla, organization right now. All they do is just come out of their holes, try to shoot here, hand grenade there, IED there. And that's it. They try to rob this, and they don't govern for sure. There's no government left for Hamas anymore. And as we do that, I can show you the photos that the world will not show you, because the world wants to portray this as a disaster and a failure. But look at the pictures of the happy people of Hamas, of Gaza, that are receiving the boxes of food given to them. But the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, the American organization that is now running this whole food program, take a look at those photos of the Gazans. No, this is different. That's something else. Just the photos of the smiling people that the world doesn't want you to see. Here it is. You can see that photos of people receiving their boxes, very happy. And this one, the world will not show you, Pastor Barry. Take a look. I mean, look at this photo. They're happy. They're smiling. There's another one. They just happy. They got food and they don't have to pay for it. By the way, they say that the Gazans are shocked that the food is actually for free. Because every time the UN would be in charge and Hamas would steal, Hamas will take and then sell it to the people in exuberant prices. And so the people had to pay, not just to pay, but to pay so much more than the worth of this thing. And when Hamas made tons of money. So Hamas is losing power, losing ground, losing its ability to govern. And that is exactly why we have so much propaganda and so much fake news around all of this, because everybody understands Hamas is almost gone.
Yeah, Amir, it's been interesting to see some of the footage of some of the Gazans now who are speaking out against Hamas, talking about, keeping them from health care, dental care, to say nothing of the food that shortages that they've created, that the media has exploited for their particular promotion of who they're siding with. And, it comes to that place, I think, where people just have had enough. And it seems like many of the Gazans are getting in that situation where,
Fed up. Yeah.
Risk our life or not, we're going to speak out against this.
In fact, look at this historic document. I mean, this is some sort of a proclamation of the southern Gaza Bedouin tribes. They just announced that Hamas is a disaster. Basically, they break free from Hamas. They believe Hamas should have accepted a deal with Israel, should have not put all these obstacles on the way, and they basically said we are better off without them. This is a written official document for the Gazans, written by Gazans, by leadership of Gazans in the southern part. And if that's not enough, Hamas is so angry that Hamas published this. Take a look at this list of hit list. These are people that are now helping to govern southern Gaza Strip in the area of Rafah, in an area that is free of Hamas. This is it, Pastor Barry. Area that is free of Hamas, that is neither Hamas nor the Palestinian authorities, that are both corrupt and both horrible. And these are people that are saying, come, stay here. You need to be in a protected area next to where food is being distributed. You don't have to go back to where Hamas still is. Let the Israelis finish the job and finish with Hamas. These are things, Pastor Barry, that never, ever happened before. We are watching Hamas coming to a breakdown. And that's why the enemy is so angry. Pastor Barry, the enemy is so angry. And the enemy, the enemy works from the outside, but the enemy also works from the inside. And that's why politicians are trying to topple the government now. That's why a lot of coalition issues are now floating for the government to basically fall, because the enemy is working extra hard to topple the government just before Hamas is gone, to somehow not let Netanyahu have that win and get stronger in the polls and maybe win the next election. So it's unbelievable. Just like in America, how those who hate Trump, they don't mind sacrificing America's future as long as Trump will not be in office. It's the same thing here in Israel, and we see that, and that's why we see also a mounting, a growing pressure from the world to stop what's going on. Humanitarian crisis. There's no such thing, Pastor Barry. There is food in Gaza. They are getting faster and for free food for the first time. And when the only thing that doesn't work is the old system, that the UN is involved and Hamas is stealing everything and make money from it. That's the thing that doesn't work. But the thing that works is where non-Hamas elements are in charge and free food is being distributed, and these things work. And you would think that the whole international community should stand behind this effort. Oh no. There's so many fake news about this effort being a disaster, being a failure, it's not working, it's not this, and not to mention, of course, the fake news about massacres almost every day, as if Israel is calling them to take food and then killing them when they get there.
Yeah, Amir, we had talked while we were traveling about the level of attacks that were going on and the sleeplessness and all the other things. That was really a first. I think that was the most intense round of spiritual warfare that we'd ever encountered. And we've had people stand up in conferences before and say something negative about the rapture or things of that nature. But we had another first on this trip, and that was in 3 of the 4 events, there were protesters and police outside. And I think especially when we were in the Netherlands, there was something that happened outside that I think the church needs to hear about. And that is there were protesters outside. And then a group of pro-Israel Christians showed up, and they weren't shouting and calling out the people, the young students who were protesting and all that, which again is another interesting point. They weren't migrants that were protesting. They were young university-age students in all 3 situations. But the interesting thing was, Amir, the Christians, the pro-Israel group, just began to worship. And there were people who said that the pro-Palestinian crowd was simply silent. They couldn't chant. They could only stand there on the street because the Christians were drowning them out with praise. And that's our job. That's what the church is supposed to do, be salt and light in an ever-darkening and impure world.
Yeah, and we need to also never echo fake news and continue this blood libels. And if we move to the next topic, which is the fake news that we see, and again, this whole thing is parallel to the breaking point of Hamas. We had 2 major blood libels that were going on that were related directly or resulted directly with murder and attempted murder of Jewish people in America. If you remember, there was the UN stating that within 48 hours, 14,000 babies in Gaza will die of hunger, which eventually not only was fake, it was the UN himself echoed stuff that was not true. It's 48,000 young adults that will be malnourished within a year, not babies that will die within 48 hours. Everything was fabricated. And again, when people hear that 14,000 babies, 48 hours, what happened? They go out, pull a gun, and kill 2 Israelis outside of the Jewish Museum in D.C. That was a direct result of that. And then, of course, a couple days ago, same thing. They said that there was a massacre. Israeli tanks were shooting at those who came to take food. And lo and behold, this BBC then later on issued an apology that what they showed is not actually footage from something different. And they also issued apology that they only relied on Hamas propaganda and nothing else. But again, the blood libel was already out. The damage has already been done. And again, an Egyptian illegal alien in America, in Boulder, Colorado, saw a pro-Israeli rally of older people. Some of them are Holocaust survivors. And he threw a Molotov cocktail on them and almost killed one of the Holocaust survivor, basically, an older woman, and injured a few others as well. They first tried to burn American flags. Now they're burning American Jews. And this is horrific. And, even the White House spokesperson, Carolyn Levitt, regarding those fake news, said the following thing. Take a look at what Carolyn Levitt said about the fake news, because she also had enough.
We don't take the word of Hamas with total truth. We like to look into it when they speak, unlike the BBC, who had multiple headlines. They wrote, Israeli tank kills 26, Israeli tank kills 21, Israeli gunfire kills 31, Red Cross says 21 people were killed in an aid incident, and then, oh wait, they had to correct and take down their entire story, saying we reviewed the footage and couldn't find any evidence of anything. Oh, okay, so we're going to look into reports before we confirm them from this podium or before we take action, and I suggest that journalists who actually care about truth do the same.
Yeah, and she's so right. Thankfully, somebody with some brains is handling this situation over there. But the BBC was not alone. The Washington Post, the New York Times, the Sky News, all of them did the same thing. They were collaborating and participating in fake news to the point that the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, right after the Boulder terror attack, basically issued the following thing. And I wish to read it to you. Everyone should see what happened. He said, reckless and irresponsible reporting by major U.S. news outlets are contributing to the anti-Semitic climate that has resulted in the murder of 2 young people at an Israeli embassy in Washington last month, and the attempted murder and terror attack on a group of pro-Israel demonstrators in Colorado on Sunday. Without verification of any source other than Hamas and its collaborators, the New York Times, CNN, and Associated Press reported that a number of people seeking to receive humanitarian food boxes from the Gaza Humanitarian Fund were shot or killed by the Israeli Defense Forces. These reports were false. Drone videos at first-hand accounts clearly showed that there were no injuries, no fatalities, no shooting, no chaos. It is Hamas that continued to terrorize and intimidate those who seek food aid. The only source for these misleading, exaggerated allegations exaggerated and utterly fabricated stories came from Hamas sources, which are designed to fan the flames of anti-Semitic hate that is arguably contributing to violence against Jews in the United States. Media sources willingly parrot these libelous allegations should recant their fake news stories, apologize, and pledge to practice actual reporting. In fact, instead of engaging in dangerous propaganda that assists the terror group Hamas as they continue to hold innocent hostages for over 600 days after butchering over 1,200 people on October 7th. The efforts of the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, have resulted in over 5 million meals to civilians without incident. But the New York Times, AP, and CNN to be part of a Hamas-fed false narrative is reprehensible. It represents more than mere sloppy journalism. It feeds and inciting violence against innocent people in the United States. We are demanding an immediate retraction of the lies and are appealing to the media sources and to act with objective professionalism to cover actual events instead of being a partner of terrorism by blindly following Hamas news releases. That's basically what Ambassador Huckabee said. These are strong, strong words. And
Yes.
as I said, they started by burning American flags, and now they're moving to burning American Jews. And it's not over, Pastor Barry. There's too many of those jihadists across your country, also in Canada, in the UK, and all across Europe. It is not a safe place anymore. You saw it. We did not feel safe in Europe. You know that. I travel without my wedding ring with Hebrew verse on it because, we have to exercise caution now. So, it is what it is. And all I can say is that if you don't do something about it, it will bite you as well. First the Saturday people, but then the Sunday people come.
Yeah, Amir, it's interesting to see how much influence Saul Alinsky and his Rules for Radicals book has had on so many world leaders. And, of the tactics he gave, I think there were 13 in number, for overthrowing an administration or country, included belittle your adversary as often as possible. And the more hateful, the belittling, the better it is. He also said, tell a lie, and tell a lie over and over and over, because eventually it will be received as truth. And this is what we're seeing today. We're just seeing these media outlets and those in charge of these places just repeating lies over and over. And it's the age-old tactic, Amir. I've seen this over the years many times, where the lie is printed on page 1, the retraction or correction is printed on page 37. And, for those who share on social media these things that are lies, they don't share the retraction. So the damage is done. And it's just, again, we know that the devil is behind it without question. And Amir, there's also some activity on your northern border on both sides, up in Syria as well as in Lebanon. And maybe you can bring us up to date on what's been happening there with rockets toward the Golan.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yesterday, out of the blue, around 8 p.m., I think, 2 rockets were fired from the city of Dara in southern Syria. And these are probably pro-Iranian militias, the residue of those that are still there. They wanted to show their allegiance not only to Hamas, but also to the Houthis that are trying again and again to shoot rockets and hit Ben Gurion Airport and fail over and over again. But the thing is, Pastor Barry, we decided not only to immediately retaliate with artillery, but 2 hours later, take a look at what the Israeli Air Force did. This is the map of the area, and right after that, 2 hours later, Israel sent fighter jets, and all these targets that you see from Damascus down south were obliterated by us. Some of them were actually weapon depots belonging to the Assad regime and now to Ahmad al-Shara. You have to understand, Israel said that may have not been fired by al-Shara's troops, but he is the president. He needs to be held accountable and responsible for what's coming out of his country. On the other side, something very interesting happened, because the response of the Syrian government was very interesting, Pastor Barry. They actually acknowledged that 2 rockets indeed were fired from their territory. And then they said the following thing, and I know it sounds weird, because they said they were fired towards the Israeli side. Now, for the last 50 years, or maybe even 60 years, Assad regime never used the term Israeli side, because the Golan Heights, where those rockets fell, are known by the Syrians as occupied Golan. They claim it's theirs as well. So they will never call it the Israeli side. And for the first time, an official recognized by many countries, government of Syria, is calling the Golan Heights Israeli side. Nuances that may sound nothing to others, but here it's very, very interesting. We know that the Syrian regime is really trying hard to warm up its connections, relationship. And that's not the only thing. Even from Lebanon, we hear that the U.S. envoy is pushing them to disarm Hezbollah and to connect with Israel. The Prime Minister of Lebanon said that that's their game, that's their aim, basically, to eventually reach a normalization with Israel. And in the CPAC convention in Hungary, for the first time, there was a Lebanese member of parliament and the leader of the Christian party there, Sami Gemayel, and there was Amichai Shikli. That Sami Gemayel is the one on the right. He is a Lebanese parliament member and the leader of the Christian party there. And this is Amichai Shikli, an Israeli government minister. You can imagine, it's a huge thing for both people, Israeli and Lebanese politicians, to be in the same conference that is very pro-Israel conference. CPAC is very conservative. You have them in America, but now you have them also in Hungary and Poland. And so, we're getting used to now different winds that are blowing from Lebanon and from Syria. Now, of course, we have to be very cautious when it comes to whatever comes from Syria. These are jihadists. El Julani is a jihadist, a former commander of Tahrir al-Sham, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is basically ISIS in its Syrian form. But some say that he has changed and he put on himself a suit, and that's why ISIS, the real ISIS, is now trying to attack him because he's a fake jihadist. Now, I know it sounds bad what I'm going to say, and excuse me for my, direct language, but I will never, ever, 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 ever believe a jihadist. And even if he say that he has changed, even if he's wearing a suit, I don't judge them by what they say. They still teach in school Sharia law. They still have their gangs slaughtering Alawites and Druze and Christians. They still are engaged in brutal things. I don't trust him. And so as far as I'm concerned, this is playing with the devil to recognize him as a... But again, it is what it is right now, and I think for his benefit, he wants some normalization with Israel. We'll see.
Yeah, Amir, it's kind of interesting when you showed that map. I was thinking back to a time where I was at the memorial there at the Valley of Tears, looking down over the city of Al-Qanitra, and we can actually hear gunfire. And I think the map doesn't necessarily convey how close these cities are, with Damascus only being 40 miles from the Israeli-Golan border. And, these people are right in your backyard, and used to use that vantage point to shoot down at the people, who were just trying to farm and make a living and live on the kibbutzim and all these other things. And, this is a serious situation going on there. And Amir, I think it's curious that we've got this guy who's trying to westernize himself, at least physically, and appear as though, he's kind of a team player, wants to be involved in the world scene. And yet there's a prophecy about Damascus that is yet to be fulfilled, which Isaiah 17:1 makes very clear.
Yeah. And by the way, he's the first president of Syria in 60 years that will go in September to deliver a speech in the United Nations General Assembly. The world totally is buying this whole show. And they're totally willing to turn blind eye to what his people, his gangs are doing to the minorities. And again, this is, if there's one thing I do not agree with President Trump's recent foreign move, is to lift the sanctions from Syria and to recognize this regime. But again, you see, I am not an American president. He sees things differently. He can see the American interest. He can see something differently than I can when it comes to U.S. interest in the Middle East. And, I guess the Saudis asked him politely. The Turkish president asked Trump politely to give Giuliani a chance. And we'll see. We don't trust him. We don't trust him at all. We believe a jihadist is a jihadist. And that's it. Unless he falls on his knees, repent, and accept Jesus as his Lord and Savior, and we see the complete change of heart. Unless that happens, as far as I'm concerned, we need to eliminate him. I mean, he is a danger to his own people and to us. But, the guy's there, and we have to accept the fact that the Western world is willing to turn blind eyes and to let him... He can do whatever he wants, but we won't let him get close to our border. That's for sure.
Amir, there's a lot of talk now about what's going on with Iran. Stories have been breaking all over the media about their enrichment. Braggadocious statement was made about having enough for 10 nuclear weapons. And, we've talked about this in the past, that the process is very laborious to separate the two isotopes that are in raw uranium. And once you reach a 60% concentration, all the heavy lifting is done. And it seems as though the world has just turned a blind eye to this, because now just all of a sudden, in the matter of weeks, they're laying claim that they have 90% enriched uranium, enough, which is weapons grade, enough for 10 nuclear devices.
Yeah. It was enough for 6 just a few months ago. Now it's enough for 10. You know what it means, Pastor Barry? It means that while you guys talk with them, they continue to enrich uranium to weapon grade level, and they're laughing at everyone. Iran is in a very, very dire situation financially. They literally are on the brink of bankruptcy, especially now with the U.S. sanctions on anyone who deals with selling Iran's oil or buying Iran's oil. And now their export to China plummeted, and the revenues thereof also plummeted. And so the Iranians desperately need assets to be unfrozen. They need sanctions to be lifted. But on the other hand, they need to show that they're true and loyal to their, independence when it comes to nuclear power. You need to understand, any country that is enriching uranium is a country that has nuclear power, nuclear weapon. Because if you don't have nuclear weapon, you don't need to enrich uranium. You buy uranium that is 3.6 to 3.8% enriched. That's all you need for civilian purposes. You don't need to enrich. No one builds a huge facility for enrichment just for a 3.8%. It's cheaper to buy it. Okay? The only reason you build those facilities is because you plan to enrich it to 20 and 40 and 60 and 80 and 90. That's why you have the enrichment facilities. And there were so many fake news, Axios and New York Times and Washington Post, all of them. They said three things. One, Trump caved in, Trump capitulated to the Iranians. He will allow them to enrich uranium in Iran. Second, they said that America and Israel are not collaborated or coordinated with anything. Israel is, willing to attack in a matter of a few hours without any coordination with America. That's another lie. And the third lie is that basically the Iranians, will basically be able to have no one talking to them about their long-range ballistic missile program, which is the program that is developed to take the nuclear heads and shoot them all the way to the target. And Pastor Barry, Axios faked that, everybody faked that, and then eventually President Trump tweeted, "We will not allow Iran to enrich uranium, period." That's it. We will not allow Iran to enrich uranium. And that's it, because everyone understands the only reason why Iran will enrich uranium is for a bomb. Iran doesn't need any uranium that is 20, 40, 50, 60, 80% enriched. They don't need it unless it's for a bomb. So today, Khamenei just said, we will not give up that option. The Pezeshkian said, we will not let go of our rights. Arkachi, the foreign minister, said the following thing. All of them are basically saying one thing to the camera, but to the Americans are saying, but let's talk. Let's talk. I think that what's going to happen, Pastor Barry, is that America will allow them to enrich uranium for 3.5% only until the alternative, which is some sort of a collaborated effort of several countries, of Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran and others, to build a common consortium, a company, a shared company that will manufacture the 3.5% uranium, and it will be co-owned by all these countries. And if you want civil purposes uranium, you have it. You own it. And it will be supervised, and it will not be on Iranian soil. So a temporary enrichment on your Iranian soil is only until that alternative is going to be built by America, by the way. So everybody is spinning that as if Trump capitulated and he is going to allow them to enrich uranium. No, he said it very clearly. In the long run, the agreement says you will not enrich uranium. An interim phase will allow you to do that until we are building for you something outside of your borders from where you can buy, and you're part owners as well. That's it. It's so many fake news, so much. They're trying to throw a wedge between Netanyahu and Trump. They're trying to portray it as if they're no longer together, no longer coordinated, no longer working together. It's fake news. Fake news. Trump never, ever capitulated to Iran's demand to enrich uranium. And the Iranians know that. Because of that, they are shouting every other hour that they will not give up that option, because they know that that's the U.S. demand. That's the U.S. demand, nothing less than that. If Iran is signed on that deal, Iran is basically signing a deal that will take from it the ability to enrich uranium in its territory. That's the deal. And they know that, we know that, and Pastor Barry, everyone knows. There is no other way but to go and destroy those nuclear sites. They are too stubborn. They have thousands of nuclear researchers and scientists. They have tons of enriched uranium. They have so many facilities that are working around the clock. They're not going to dismantle all of them just because of Trump. They're going to drag their feet, waste their time, and hope that Trump will lose the midterm elections in the House, and later on, the new president will be a Democrat, and they will be safe.
Yeah, Amir, again, it's just amazing how the Western mentality just cannot seem to grasp the idea that when someone like Iran makes a threat, they mean it. I guess we become the culture of empty promises and hypocrisy, so much so that we think everybody's like that. They just, are bloviating or just expressing themselves in a frustrating manner. But Iran means what they say. Their intention is to destroy Israel. But we know that's not going to happen because God has said to the prophet Amos.
By the way, yeah, I don't think only Israel. I mean, we're a small Satan. You guys are big Satan. And the last time I checked, it's your president that they tried to assassinate as well, not only our prime minister.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very true. Well, once again, folks, I'd like to remind you of the importance of subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting on this program. I think especially now, it is so late in the hour. We're watching things happen that literally thousands of years of Christians wondered about and couldn't see. And now here they are happening right before our eyes. And, the news today is reading like it just jumped out of the pages of Scripture in many ways. And so we are late in the game, and we need to let as many as people know as possible. And I say this for a couple of reasons. One, everywhere we go, we hear nobody's teaching Bible prophecy. Every country Amir and I are in, we hear the same comment. We can't find a church teaching Bible prophecy. And that's part of the reason that it's so important for you to do those four things, to get the word out so others can hear exactly what the Bible has foretold and how it's unfolding right before our eyes. And Amir, we've got out on the broader scale some interesting things that developed out of Ukraine. And there was kind of a surprise attack that has been dubbed the Pearl Harbor of this exchange between Russia and Ukraine. And maybe you could fill us in on the massive effect that this has had on not just the Russian military, but on the Kremlin itself.
Yes, Pastor Barry. It's just phenomenal. What happened is that for the last year and a half, Ukraine has been working on a covert operation to smuggle small drones that can carry heavy explosives. And they smuggle them in pieces, and then they assemble them. As you can see, here they are. And then they hid them in a compartment on the top of a container that was on a truck, on a big truck. You see, they were hidden in the very, very top compartment. And they would bring the truck. They brought the truck deep in Russia, next to 4 different strategic military bases. And they opened those tops. And they opened the top and allowed those drones to fly out. Look at this. the drone comes out and flies directly towards the airbase, and massive losses for the Russians of strategic bombers. Take a look. I mean, we're talking about one plane after the other that those drones hit, one after the other. I'm trying to find, there was a report that came just minutes ago on the amount of let me give you the number of planes that were destroyed. I'm not even talking about those that got damaged. They destroyed 9 Tu-95 bombers, 5 Tu-22 bombers, 1 Antonov 12 cargo plane, and 1 A-50 AWACS reconnaissance plane. These are those that were just completely destroyed. The damaged ones, many more. $9 billion worth of losses for the Russians in the heart of Russia, thousands of miles away from the Ukraine. I think we have a map that shows you the distance from Ukraine that these trucks who were smuggled into Russia did. Look at this small Ukraine on the left, look at huge Russia, and look at the Olenia Air Base, almost 2,000 miles up north. Look at the Belinka Air Base in the Siberia over there on the right, and 2 others. And one of the Ukrainica Air Base, this one did not work, and they managed to avoid that one. But 4 out of the 5 targets really, really, really hurt the Russians. It was called Spider Web operation. They've been working on it for a year and a half. And to be honest with you, I was super impressed. And that's not the only thing. That the Kerch Bridge, the strategic bridge that connecting mainland with Crimea, was also attacked yesterday. Take a look at the very, very heavy bomb that was exploding under the water. And it might not look as a big damage above the water, but let me show you the photos. The photos are actually that the target was under the water, the foundations of the bridge. I mean, I don't know if you can clearly see. There's 2 more. Do we have the 2 other pictures that are from this? Okay, we don't have it. Well, anyway, on that very post on my Telegram channel, and I repeat, people, you have to follow me on Telegram. It's super important. And there I can show you the underground foundation of the bridge that was the target in this whole thing. So phenomenal, amazing, humiliating, and now the West is holding its breath as to what will the Russian retaliation is going to be. Everyone knows it's going to be painful, it's going to be big, and it might even be, Pastor Barry, might even be nuclear. And that is exactly why a lot of European countries are super afraid. And we'll talk about the connection to Israel, because they are so afraid, they want some stuff that Israel has. So there you go.
Yeah, Amir, Vladimir Osechkin, who is a Kremlin critic, was saying that the president of Vladimir Putin is on the warpath, and he's holding meetings to determine who in their counterintelligence group is going to walk the plank for this spectacular intelligence failure. And so, it seems like a shakeup is coming, and watching these things unfold, knowing that Russia is going to have a hook in their jaw and come down from the north and attack Israel, you just have to wonder, when is that final catalyst going to be where that particular event is going to be launched? Could be the destruction of Damascus that leads to it. We don't know, but it sure seems like things are heating up. And Amir, as always, the world is putting pressure for recognizing a Palestinian state, and the U.S. has warned France, UK, and Spain and others to not move forward to the recognition of a state unilaterally in the June UN meeting. And it's kind of interesting, Amir, that there's a country that isn't a country that has a seat at the UN, and involvement there is it's beyond weird. to see such a thing taking place. And it's just every effort to debilitate internationally the nation of Israel, its voice. And, again, we know that, as I mentioned or alluded to earlier, Israel is not going to be uprooted. The land will not be divided. And so we know the end of the game, but we're watching the futile efforts happening all over the world. So what's going on with this effort now, this international push again?
Yeah, well, Pastor Barry, everything is connected to the fact that Hamas is going to be completely gone very, very, very soon. They don't understand that, this is going to cause some chaos in their own countries as well. You have to understand, the UK and France and others, they're no longer independent Christian countries, Western countries. Let me show you this video about a lady that is putting all the truth to the face regarding the UK. Listen.
The mayor of London is Muslim. The mayor of Birmingham is a Muslim. The mayor of Leeds is Muslim. The mayor of Blackburn is Muslim. The mayor of Sheffield is Muslim. The mayor of Oxford is a Muslim. The mayor of Luton is a Muslim. The mayor of Oldham is a Muslim. The mayor of Rochdale is a Muslim. All of this was achieved by only 4 million Muslims out of the 66 million people in England. Today, in England, there are over 3,000 mosques. There are over 130 Sharia courts in England, and there are more than 50 Sharia councils. 78% of Muslim women do not work and receive state support and free accommodation. 63% of Muslims do not work and receive state support and free housing. State-supported Muslim families have an average of 6 to 8 children who all receive free accommodation. Every school in the UK is required to teach about Islam. The number one most common baby name in England is Muhammad. This is not immigration. This is invasion.
And that is exactly why the easiest way to run away from all of this is to blame Israel, attack Israel, and call for a Palestinian state. It's not only UK, France, an accidental leak of a report in France about the Muslim Brotherhood basically shows their very clever plan to take over the country and also the whole continent. Again, it was, we can put it on the screen. We are talking about how the Muslim Brotherhood intends to take over. And this is an amazing detailed plan through schools and through politics and local politics and on national level politics. They're very, very smart. They understand that's the way democracy works. We'll exploit democracy to eventually put an end to democracy. And that's it. And so, by the way, that's why Macron is pushing day and night for a Palestinian state. And that's why Ambassador Huckabee said the following thing regarding that proposal.
October 7th changed a lot of things. If France is really so determined to see a Palestinian state, I've got a suggestion for them. Carve out a piece of the French Riviera and create a Palestinian state. They're welcome to do that, but they're not welcome to impose that kind of pressure on a sovereign nation. And I find it revolting that they think that they have the right to do such a thing.
Yeah. And Pastor Barry, there's two other things you need to know. Israel Ministry of Defense just released the Israeli security defense export numbers. Apparently, we hit record number. 2024 was record number year, even the first half of 2025. Record number. and 54% of what we export when it comes to missiles and security things are going to Europe. So the Europeans really want us because they can see what Russia is up to, and they need to buy weapons from us. And they're actually buying weapons from us. And so this is all one big show for their own people because they lost control over their own country. I mean, I don't know if we have any video of the riots that were in Paris over the last few days. I mean, the football team that is owned by Qatar just won a major title. And instead of being happy, look what they did there. I mean, they burned cars, they burned shops, they even hit innocent people. 5 people died, dozens were injured. Paris was in chaos for days. That's what you have in France. So Macron, which by the way, his wax figure was stolen from the wax museum in Paris and was taken all the way to be in front of the U.S. embassy for a demonstration against the Palestinian suffering. I mean, he's mocked in his own country. His own capital is burning by those jihadists that he brought into his country, and they hate him. They hate him. They hate the French people. They hate the French country and everything that France represents. They hate them, and they opened their doors for all of this, and now they eat what they cooked. And so again, the easiest thing is to let's vote against Israel and for a Palestinian state and divert all the fire and look good in the eyes of those that are amongst us. But again, it's not going to work. And the last thing I want to say, Pastor Barry, if they will recognize and will not adhere to Trump's warning, then Israel will unilaterally recognize or impose also unilaterally its sovereignty over the Judea and Samaria. In fact, they'll do us a big favor because Palestine does not exist. It's like Narnia, basically. It does not exist. There is no Palestine, okay? But Israel is there, Judea and Samaria are there, and we will be sovereign there. And that's a real thing. We are there. And so if they'll do that, we're up for the game.
I thought the closing statement of the woman who mentioned this isn't immigration, this is invasion, was curious. You know, you and I both know that the naming of the land of Israel took place in 136 AD under Hadrian, the Roman emperor, because of his hatred for the Jews and all the horrid things he did to the Jews, making it illegal to use the term. 2 Jews were not allowed to walk together. And he also renamed the area after the ancient enemies of Israel as a slap in the face. He named it after the Philistines, and the Latinized form of Philistine is Palestina. And the word actually means invaders. And the Philistines, Amir, as you know, they were from the island of Crete. They were Greek. They were not Arab like the modern day Palestinians. So again, I think what this woman said was spot on. This is an invasion. There's no question about it. And it's happening all over the world. And foolish people are bowing to it. And now they're paying the price for it. And Amir, one last thing before we wrap up and you close with the Aaronic blessing. And that is Jesus mentioned that there are going to be earthquakes in diverse places around the world. And here in the States, we've had a rather interesting flurry of earthquakes near an Idaho town. And, you know, it's kind of interesting that this particular area just really woke up seismically in 1990 with a pretty sizable earthquake for an area that wasn't known for them. And now we're having swarms of earthquakes. And the reason I bring this up is because Jesus mentioned an increase in earthquakes as a sign of the nearness of his return. He was asked by Peter, Andrew, James, and John for the signs of the end of the age and that of his coming. And the reason this is important is because Idaho is right next to the Cascadia Fault, which is the most vulnerable fault in the United States. It could have the most catastrophic impact. It runs directly under Seattle. Geologists would tell you it is the most frightening possible scenario, and it's had earthquakes in the past of 9 and 10 points, and another quake of that magnitude, which it's long overdue for, would be absolutely devastating. So the earth is groaning and travailing awaiting its redemption.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor Barry, for your word of encouragement, because at the very end of this month, I'm heading to Idaho. We have two events, July 1st and July 2nd. And by the way, I'm going to speak there and promote my book, The Israel Decree, and I want to encourage everyone, guys, we not just that the New York Times made it bestseller, but this book is really changing people, and they write so many comments and reviews online. Please get that book. It will be the best thing you can do if you want to understand God's plan for the land and for the people, and have a great answer to all these nonsense that people are now spreading about the Jews, about the land of Israel, and to whom this land belongs. And again, as you did, Pastor Bay, I want to encourage people to stay away from sensationalism, to stay away from fake news. Please subscribe to our channels, comment, share, and forward it, and like those videos. We need the algorithm to push truth to people and not lies to people. So let's conclude with the Aaronic blessing. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance toward you and give you his peace.
Amen. Amen. B'Shem Yeshua.
Amen.
So I want to thank you, Pastor Barry, for being with me from here. I'm going home to try to sleep, although the news from Gaza and from the rest of the world cannot stop. And now there's a new feature on Telegram. You can actually write me direct messages on Telegram. It's brand new. So you can do that as well. Thank you for watching, and goodbye and shalom from Galilee and from Southern California.